Sebastian from Arturia. I'm a product manager for the Microfreak, the new instrument that we just announced. So Microfreak is a small hybrid synthesizer with a digital oscillator and an analog filter in a compact format with some very interesting keyboard and sequencing features. I'm going to kind of cover the functionalities of the instrument one after the other, just give a rough idea of how we designed the thing. So let's just listen to a patch for now. This is a So this is a wavetable oscillator. Basically, the way the oscillator works is that you have 4 knobs, 1 type control, and then 3 knobs that shape the oscillator. So by type, I mean we have different forms of synthesis, like physical modeling, some chords, some FM, some wave shaping, a virtual analog, wavetable. Some of the modes are taken from the Mutable Instruments Platts Eurorack module, and some others that we designed ourselves. So I select the mode and then I get free control to edit that mode. For instance, this is a super wave mode, so it uses one waveform and then detuned copies of the waveform. So I get to control on the initial waveform, and then the amount of detuning of the copies, and the volume of the copies. So basically, for each mode, we try to find the 3 most relevant parameters to edit the sound. So then moving on, this digital oscillator, the sound then gets converted to analog and goes through this analog filter. It's a state variable 12 dB per octave filter with a low pass, band pass, and high pass mode. And it can self oscillate. Yes, band pass, high pass mode. What I like about this filter is how it, well, being a 12 dB and rather clean and liquid filter, it leaves a lot of room for the oscillator to sound. You know, when you have like rich harmonic sound sources like square waves or sawtooth, it's nice to have something that cuts, that rolls off a lot of the high frequencies. When you have things like, you know, FM with 2 sine waves and slight FM amount, it's nice to just clean it up a bit by removing some of the high frequencies, but still retain kind of the essence of the sound. So I think the filter is really well adapted to this to the sound sources. Moving on in terms of modulation, so we kind of use the same logic we had with the matrix brute to display modulations with an actual matrix on the instrument. So same behavior, the modulation sources as the different rows and the destinations as columns. Again, with the ability to assign to any parameter on the instrument by just pressing a button, turning a knob to assign to a different destination. And in terms of modulation sources, we have a cycling envelope that can behave either as a ADSR regular envelope or as an LFO with the attack, hold, and release. And the attack and release curves can be shaped from exponential to logarithmic continuously. The envelope is just a regular ADSR envelope. It can be routed to the VCA, or you can use the VCA just as with a gate signal to free the envelope to do something else. LFO is a simple LFO with some waveform selection and a rate control and tempo sync. So basically the voice is, how to say, it would be quite simple for someone who's familiar with synthesizers to understand how the architecture of that synthesizer. The really unique aspect of the voice is the oscillator and all the diversity of sounds that you can get just by selecting the different oscillator types and messing around with the sound. And the great thing is that there's a lot of room for, you know, additional functionalities we could plan on. I don't know, for now we're really focusing on the ones that we already have, and there are 11 different modes for now. But we can think of the different ways things we can add, maybe other partnerships or maybe designing other modes ourselves. That's something that we'll see in the future. Anyway, moving on, we have an arpeggiator and a step sequencer. So again, there's a nice balance between some classical features and some more unusual ones, especially for a random generation of sequence or patterns. So we're talking about this area right here. The keyboard is a PCB touch plate. It's a design choice we did to keep a compact format and lightweight, and you know, kind of a hint at those old, you know, like music easels and Wasp and all these instruments from the past, who are like more of a tiny instrument like that. The good thing about this keyboard is the pressure sensitivity. It's quite responsive. It can behave either in aftertouch mode or velocity, and it's polyphonic aftertouch. So I forgot to mention, but this is a paraphonic synthesizer, so I can play up to 4 notes. Most of the oscillator modes will let me use 4 voices at a time. I think for now one of them it can only go to 3 voices because of CPU constraints. So we'll probably adapt to the different modes, but the idea is still to make sure that most modes can provide 4 voices of powerphony. So that means we have a single filter, but you know, 4 notes that can be played from the oscillator. One thing we did, and we already did that on the Matrix Brute, is instead of having just a gate signal to activate each voice, we apply the amplitude envelope before the filter. Usually the VCA is after, so we apply it before the filter so that we can get separate volume control on each new voice. So for pads with a long attack, you can. So of course the filter envelope is still the same for all voices. But because you have independent VCA envelopes, it's a lot more natural, especially when playing pads like I just did. So Arpeggiator provides 4 different modes. One is called, well, it's up, so just play the notes up, older, random, which is fully random, and the fourth one is called pattern. And the way it works is, I'm gonna play some notes, and it will generate a pattern using only the notes that I played, and it's going to loop that pattern. So it's a quick way to just generate new pattern ideas. So for instance, if I want something in A minor, I just play this pattern. If I press them again, it's going to play a new pattern. So you know, like, if you don't like something, just play again. And each time it's going to create a new pattern. And the second feature I would like to talk about is the Spice and Dice functionality for the arpeggiator. So the pattern mode is more for melodies, and Spice and Dice is for gates. And the way it works is that it can modify the length of notes, going from all the way to being silent, being so tiny, and when the notes are so big, they become a tight note to the next step. And you don't get control per step on that, it's random. And the way it works is that Spice is kind of a global amount of that randomness. So I just press Spice, and then I have this slider here, and the more I raise it, it's going to deviate from the default gate length by making notes shorter or longer. So you're getting shorter or longer notes. And Dice reshuffles the length of notes. And again, I have this amount control, and if I just press a little bit, it's going to slightly modify the sequence compared to what I had before. And if I do it at maximum, it's going to completely reshuffle the length. When it's set at maximum, you can have silences or tight notes. Of course, the instrument is paraphonic, so again, you can get overlapping notes with the arpeggiator. Really, it's a very efficient way to generate some, pattern ideas with some silence, some ties, some melodies. Okay, so that's the arpeggiator. A quick word about the sequencer. There's a 64-step sequencer on it with 2 patterns for each preset. And you can record in 2 modes, either just step recording, SH101 or Microfreak type of recording, or in real time. So right now, step recording, I'll just play, and this button is used to enter silences. Hold on. Okay, so press record. Oh, hold on. I'm gonna be in paraphonic mode. Record. Okay, so. And now we can also record on top of that sequence. Just overwrite the sequence. So the sequencer has four notes step to go with the 4 voices of paraphony. The sequencer also provides 4 tracks of parameter automation, either step automation or smooth automation. So I can press record and enter some automation like the cutoff, for instance, resonance. So again, it's more about happy accident or just getting some quick ideas out, programming some nice sequences, just jamming. This instrument, kind of the idea was to, try to get people to experiment and to find some happy accidents and, not really like a deterministic approach to creating sounds, but more like messing around and sometimes finding some good ideas, good unexpected things. It's also kind of what I love with the modular synthesis, and just trying out ideas, seeing what comes out. So this is what led us here. It's also a bit why it's named like that. The Microfreak is also about and it's not a serious synth. It's not a toy, but it's not a serious synth, I would say. The back panel is pretty simple. So audio outputs, phones output, clock in and out, MIDI in and out on mini jack. USB, it can be powered via USB, which is nice. And we have CV and gate outputs and pressure output on CV. So for people who have a small Eurorack gear and just need like a sequencer, this can give you already one a synth voice, but also a way to just control your gear. The keyboard is it's a touch plate keyboard, so it's 2 layers of printed circuit PCB with a capacitive sensor. There are some small metallic parts here just to make sure the finger is always grounded, always connected to the ground. So that's the technical aspect. But the idea was to ensure that we get some good, reliable levels of pressure sensitivity, because each node has pressure sensors. So there's no vertical control, but you get pressure control. So I'm gonna assign pressure to the cutoff frequency so that it's quite obvious. And the good thing is that this is polyphonic, so if I play... the filter is monophonic, but if I connect the pressure to let's say the timbre, so in that case it controls some hard things. So I can get each note to play with the different to get different pressure controls and have a different effect on the oscillator parameters. By going in the utility menu, I have 2 options. Pressure mode can be either aftertouch, like I did with the pressure, or velocity. So again, it's based on the pressure sensitivity, and it kind of scans how fast the finger goes and presses on the key. And it can do some rather convincing aftertouch. Velocity, I mean. Right? And the second option is called amp mod, and it's a way to apply some amplitude modulation based on the pressure, or in that case velocity, so that low notes get out of stop and you get louder volume for higher notes. Right. So that's for the keyboard. So like I said, the oscillator is you navigate through the types using this knob, and the display tells you which mode is currently selected. So the first one is, VA is probably going to disappear. It's just a simple waveform selection, but we can already do that in other ways. Anyway, super wave is the first mode. So you choose the waveform, you choose the detuning of the copies of the super wave effect, and the volume of the copies. Right? Wavetable. So the wavetables are still not final, but basically you're going to have a number of tables, and you can scan through them with the second knob. Harmonic is kind of an additive oscillator where you can kind of mix different harmonics, different sources. You can choose the waveform of each source and then mix them together to create kind of a different spectrum. But this oscillator still needs some tweaking. It's not in the final state. Car plus strong, so some physical modeling. Right. Then the VA mode from Platt. So it's a mix of two waveforms where you can choose the detuning between them, and you get some wave shaping for each waveform. So either hard sync or some pulse width control, and a tone shaping for the second waveform. Sorry, my bad. Yeah. Then wave shaper, which is some simple waveforms going through some wave folding or wave shaping circuits. FM, so two operator FM with the FM ratio, FM amount, and feedback amount of the modulator, I think. The grain, it's another mode. I can't exactly recall how it behaves technically, but this is the kind of sound you get. Right, chord with the chord type of chord, inversion, and some waveform selection. Again, this is one of the modes from Platt. Speech. Frequency. Right, with different words and some tonal control on the voice. And the model mode, which is it's the only mode where powerphony is on 3 voices, and it's another kind of physical modeling based mode with an exciter resonator type of behavior. Right, so these are the different modes that are going to be here at the start, and probably we'll see others in the future. So that's Microfreak. We're starting production now, so it should be available in probably 2 months or something, roughly between March and May, I would say. And the price will be €299 and $349. Thank you for watching.